Greetings everyone, and welcome to my kitchen. My name is Felix Maeta, Corporate Executive Chef with Nestlé Professional. Today I'm going to do a demonstration showing you how to fabricate a whole chicken into 8 pieces. Whether you use it for grilling, baking, or frying, this technique and proficiency is something that you're going to need to learn as you continue your culinary education. So let's get to it, shall we? Okay, so before we get started on the chicken, let's just run through our mise en place. Like any good cook, you're going to want to have your station set up, everything that you need at your fingertips, so that your technique will be smooth and efficient, and you won't be running around looking for things when you need them. So let's talk about knives first. So I have 2 knives that I'm going to use. I have, of course, my chef's knife, which I'll be using to cut through, the leg bones when I separate the thighs and when I cut off the wings. But you're also going to need a smaller, flexible knife. You could use a bony knife, which is perfectly fine. This is one of my favorite knives for close work. My father used to say, any job is easy as long as you have the right tools. So let's make sure that you have the right tools, and of course make sure that your knives are very sharp. We're going to have a couple of side towels at our disposal because it's kind of a messy job. We want to make sure that we can wipe our hands and we can wipe the board down as necessary. And then also you want to have a vessel or a container for scraps. So we're going to have some trim as we go through the boning process, and we're going to save that trim, right? Because we're going to use that later on for stocks. So very important to have that close to you, okay? And then you're going to have your knives ready to go. And then you'll have a half sheet pan, which is what I like to use, with some parchment paper lining on it. And as we fabricate the chicken, we're going to put those pieces onto our sheet pan and have that off of our board and a place to go with the fabricated chicken. Okay, so we have our chicken in front of us. We have the breast meat facing away from us. We have our legs and we have our wings. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to remove our legs. And we want to make sure that as we bone out the legs, that we take this little piece of meat hidden right under here, also known as the oyster. We want to make sure that that comes out with us because that's a nice, tasty piece of meat. So take our legs, and what I like to do is just stretch the legs out a little bit and pinch here, right, so that I can find the seams when I make my incision. And so I'm going to start with the left leg here. I'm going to make my incision, not cutting into the meat. I come down and I just get it so that I'm able to take the chicken and peel it away and expose the thigh joint. And then I'm going to take my knife, staying very close to the backbone, and come all the way across and take the leg off. All right? And we'll do the same thing on the other side. We're going to pinch it, make my incision, cut the fat right there, peel it away, pop it. You can hear the leg pop a little bit there. And then take my knife, coming across the backbone, taking that oyster with me, and there it is. So we've got both of our legs removed, okay? And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna turn it back over. And I just like as I go along just to clean up any pieces of hanging fat off of there. Makes it easier to keep it clean. I'm going to remove the wings. All right, so I'm going to start taking the tips off. And again, you're going to stretch the wing out here, and you'll identify where the joint is. And with your knife, you're going to just take that little tip off of there, put that in with our stock. Do the same thing on the other side. Stretch it, it comes straight through. Now the next step is we want to remove the backbone. So what we're going to do is, you can see as I stand the chicken up, all right, the backbone runs all the way to the neck bone. And this is a really easy, quick procedure. We're going to start here, and we're just going to make an incision and cut up to expose the backbone here, okay? And then we're going to cut down through the rib cage, and then the backbone is going to fall away here, and then I'm just going to break it out. And a little piece of neck bone will come with it, depending on how much was trimmed out prior to getting the chicken. So, all right, so we've got it down, and I'm just going to follow down with my knife, and I'm going to find the joint, the tip of the joint of the wing bone, cut through there. Do the same thing on the other side. Now I have my backbone completely removed. We'll take that and we'll just give that a quick cut in half there. Move that into our stock bin. Now, we have our chicken breast left. You can see there's 2 lobes to either side, and we still have our wing joints attached. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that off, same as before, bend it back. There's one. And there is 2. There we go. All right, so now I have just my breast meat left. So we're going to do this as a bone-in breast. What we want to do here is you don't want to cut this way. All right, we want to make it easy for ourselves. It's much easier to cut it this way. So we're going to turn the chicken meat side down, take our knife, and we're going to make an incision right here in the sternum. Come down, little bang. And you can see that I'm about halfway through. I'm going to turn it back this way using my knife and cut all the way through. All right, and then I have my 2 breasts separated. Like I said, as you go around, just trim it up a little bit, get rid of this excess fat, put it into your stock bin over here, and then the same thing over here, just trim up a little bit there and a little bit there. Okay. So here you can see we have our chicken cut up. Let's identify the parts here. We have our 2 wing joints here, and we're going to set those aside. We're not going to use this for this application. You could probably use those as a bar snack, or the chef may have you save them and freeze them for a later day. So we'll put those aside. And now what we're going to do is we're going to separate the thigh from the drumstick. So you're going to turn it over this way, and you'll notice right here there's a fat line that runs across the joint, all right? And it's going to be there on every chicken. Doesn't change. It's just part of the anatomy of the chicken. And that's a guide for us to cut this in half cleanly. So what we're going to do is take our knife, and I take my index finger just so I can kind of push in there and feel where the joint is, right along that fat line. And I'm just going to take my knife, right, and I'm going to slice right through. See how clean that came through? All right. So I have my drumstick here. Put that up top. And I have a thigh right here. Put that together there, and then we'll do the next one. We'll take our chicken, turn it upside down, locate that joint running across that fat line, and then with our knife, we're just going to slice right through. All right, I've seen a lot of cooks starting out where they're really struggling cutting through the chicken legs. You know, they're hacking at it, making splinters all over the place. We don't want to do that. So identify that joint along the fat line and just easily slice right through like we did here. Okay, so we have our drumstick and we have our other thigh. I'm going to just trim this a little bit here, this little excess fat. You want to make sure there's no bones anywhere. Give it a little pinch. Here's a little bone fragment. So I'm going to just clean that up a little bit. Okay. And then we're good to go. Now, we have our 2 breasts waiting for us here. So what are we going to do with those? Well, I'm going to show you. So whether you're roasting or you're setting up for a fried chicken, we're leaving the bone in here because I think it adds more flavor when you roast them or when you fry them. So if you're going to fry them, you're going to marinate them overnight. If you're going to roast them, you're going to probably marinate them and season them up. But the bone imparts a lot of flavor. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to clean up this wing a little bit here. All right, and I'm going to cut this piece off right there. And what you can do is at that point, you can push that down to expose the bone and hold that aside. Or, let me get my other knife here. You could French this bone. All right, so you can see there's the knuckle here. And to French it, what we're going to do is we're going to just knock this joint off right here. All right, so with the heel of the knife, we're going to just come off of there, take that away into the stock bin, and then we're going to take our knife and we're going to cut this meat away here. This is also known as Frenching the chicken breast. All right, so we'll take that, cut that away, and then we're going to expose that bone. See how nice and clean that is? All right, and we'll take that away. Very nice. And then we have a nice clean bone like that. Okay, so 2 ways to do that, depending on how the chef directs you how to complete that task. Now, we want to cut the breast in half, each piece in half. Okay, so what we don't want to do is cut it straight across in half here. Why don't we want to do that? Well, even though it's from the same piece of the breast, the upper part has much more meat, has more bone on it, so it's going to take longer to cook, but it also weighs more. And so it's important that we want our portion sizes to be consistent. So what we're going to do is instead of cutting it straight across here, all right, we're going to cut it this way, okay, on an angle, so that we pick up much more meat and it's going to cook evenly. So what I like to do is just take my knife, right, and I get it underneath the wing bone here, pushing the tip up, okay, and then on an angle, angling my blade, I'm going to cut straight through. Okay, you're going to hit a little bit of the breastbone there, but you just work through that with your knife. All right, and then you have 1, 2, and then we'll do the same thing on the other side. We're going to turn it this way, find that spot that's right underneath the bone, the wing joint there, come across about halfway on an angle, and just slice through. Okay. And then you have 2 pieces. So there you have it. Cut in half, and then let's get our leg meat. And so when you're going to portion this out, let's say you've cooked it already, you've fried it already, and you're ready to portion or plate, you always want to show 1 piece with the bone, exposed bone, and 1 piece without. So maybe you would do, a piece of breast meat and a drumstick, piece of breast meat and a drumstick, and then you have a thigh bone, right? The thigh, which is not showing any bone, with a piece of breast meat, and the other thigh bone with the other piece of breast meat with the wing attached here. Okay, so there you have it. A perfect 8-cut chicken. I hope this demonstration was simple enough for you to follow, and we're going to clean up, and that'll be the end of our task for today. Thank you. Well, that concludes today's culinary demonstration. I hope you found it informative and useful. As you go back to your classrooms, keep one thing in mind. Great chefs are not born. Great chefs are developed. It takes a lot of years of practice and honing your craft. Today's skill and today's technique was just one of many that you're going to have to master throughout your culinary journey. But let me just encourage you by saying, learn every day, ask a lot of questions from your chefs and from your fellow cooks, and remember that a great chef is always a good cook first. Keep that in mind, keep learning every day, and you're going to do great. Wishing you all the best. Thanks for stopping by my kitchen today.